Hey, welcome to the channel. We hope that you enjoy today's stories and check out the chapters on the video to see all the stories for today. But before we get into this video, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon to get notified when we release a new video. So let's get into the video.
Medical professionals of Reddit, have you ever had a patient so lacking in common sense you wondered how they made it this far? If so, what is your story?
Experience 1. I'm a pharmacist. One evening shift I was working a relief shift, not my usual pharmacy. A man comes in looking distressed. Man.
I had sexual relations with a woman I do not intend to pursue a long-term relationship with.
Yes. He said it just like that. Me. Okay. I'm assuming there was an accident, or it was unprotected. How long ago did it happen? Man.
Last night, at 7 p.m. on the couch.
Whoa, too much information. I just need to know the approximate time to know if Plan B will work. Me. We have this medication called Plan B, and since the incident happened within 72 hours. Man.
Oh yes, I got that for her already yesterday right after we finished. We want to know if there is anything we can do to know if she is pregnant now.
Me. Unfortunately, not. She'll have to wait 3 weeks or so to see if she gets her period, and if she doesn't then she can do a pregnancy test then. Theoretically, you could do a blood test for faster results, but that would also not be until a couple of weeks, at least. Man.
We're just really anxious because she really doesn't want to be pregnant. Is there anything that she can take to prevent the pregnancy? Any multivitamin? Minerals? Food?
Me. She's already taken it, which was the Plan B. There are some other options, but those are prescriptions. And no, there are no over-the-counter products she can take. Man.
What about me? Is there anything I can take now to prevent the pregnancy? Any multivitamins or minerals?
Me. No, sir. There isn't anything you can take now. Experience 2. 73 here, former clinical microbiologist, long ago. Still, I found myself all over the clinical lab at times, not just infectious diseases. So, one day, this 20-something guy, wife and mom in tow, walks in with a paper request for semen analysis, pre-computer era. Okay, not the most comfortable encounter, but I'm a professional and have done this drill many times. He had not been briefed by the doctor and had no idea how establishing infertility in males was done. Well, okay, a challenge, then. I took him aside and, using standard medical terminology, told him how a diagnosis is made and what he needed to do to provide a specimen. He wouldn't believe that I was asking him to jerk off into that container. Astonished. Then he played dumb as if the word was unfamiliar to him. We looped through the medical terms and procedure again, and I eventually resorted to every word I knew to describe the act. It was like a George Carlin bit. A half hour later, he emerged from the toilet with 2 inches of urine in the cup. God almighty. The report went back to patient provided improper specimen. Experience 3. Paramedic. An elderly woman complains that her mouth is dry, and she felt a bit dizzy climbing the stairs earlier. Go through the whole rigmarole of getting a medical history, vitals, and more details on symptoms. Ask her what she's had to drink today. A cup of tea, 10 hours ago. Any water? No. Guess what fixed it within 5 minutes? Experience 4. Physical therapist had a patient with neck pain and spasms who also complained of anxiety and heart palpitations. Asked about caffeine intake and patient revealed drinking an average of 15 to 20 cups of coffee daily. Experience 5. Not me, but my mother would pick up shifts as a nurse sometimes in labor and delivery, and she had met a handful of women who didn't know the baby was going to be coming out of their midsection. Like no clue. My mom usually said something like, "How you got it in is how it's coming out, honey." This was the late 90s, early 2000s. Experience 6. Rural yard doc here. 35-year-old female walks in with right-sided jaw/neck swelling.
I think it happened because I ate some meat yesterday that my body is reacting to.
10 minutes later.
Oh yeah, and I accidentally swallowed a bee, and it stung me in my mouth right before this happened. Sorry, I forgot to mention that.
Experience 7. Had a buddy who was an EMT. He was called out to a location for a gunshot wound. Apparently, what happened was that a father was mowing his lawn when he accidentally touched part of the mower near the engine and burned his hand. He got mad at the lawnmower, pulled out his pistol, and shot it. The bullet ricocheted and hit his son in the leg. Experience 8. Had an 18 or 19-year-old girl come into my ER with some complaint that required an X-ray. It's standard that we do a urine pregnancy test prior to imaging on any female of childbearing years. She insisted she'd never had intercourse and there was zero possibility of pregnancy. We did the test anyway, and it showed that she was pregnant. We did a blood pregnancy test to confirm the results since she insisted she couldn't possibly be pregnant because she'd never had intercourse. That was positive too. We gave her a few minutes to herself to figure out what the hell happened, and when I returned to check on her a short time later, she asked me if she could get pregnant even though her boyfriend didn't go all the way in. She 100% believed that as long as his midsection wasn't entirely in her, it didn't count as intercourse. It took nearly a half hour of explaining reproduction to her for her to understand whether it was halfway in or all the way in sperm travel. Experience 9. Had an adult male patient who needed a Foley catheter. His mother was in the room, and they both lived together in the backwoods of Tennessee. I informed them both of the order for a catheter, how it works, and why it was needed. His mother stated,
Well, he's still a virgin, and I'm not sure I'm comfortable with his virginity being taken in a hospital.
Do you like listening to these stories? Do you want to hear more of them? Then click that like button, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. And check the description for links to more videos and interesting stories.
Experience 10. Not a personal experience, but one from a colleague of mine. I only saw the pics. So, this 60-something-year-old suffers from an acute complication and gets a pacemaker to solve the problem. Everything goes normally and as planned. He recovers. Every care and meds that he needs to take are prescribed and explained, and medical appointments with a cardiologist or arthroscopist are scheduled so that he may get the follow-up he needs. The man then proceeds to never show up to any appointment and never answer any calls from the hospital to know of him and reschedule. This went on for around 3 years. Until he shows up without former warning and asks to talk with the doctor who did the procedure to put in his pacemaker. People are weirded out, but seeing that on that day the doctor was present and this patient was in clear distress, they talked to him and managed a couple of minutes to have the doctor check on him. Inside the appointment room, the doctor takes notice that this man is wearing a bra inside his shirt. The man explains he has been wearing his daughter's bra for 3 months after his problem got worse. The shirt is asked to be taken off, and there he stands, the shirtless man wearing his daughter's bra, showing off the pacemaker that should have been kept inside his body, dangling outside of it, being held by the left bra cup, with a big infected open wound above it with the pacemaker lead still inserted onto his veins and connected to his heart. Nobody has any idea how the man let that situation come to be, or how he didn't die of sepsis or any other health problem that may appear for that matter. Experience 11. EMS here. Had a diabetic in his 30s to 40s who refused to take insulin since 2012, it was 2020 at the time. When I took his blood sugar, it only read as HI, meaning it was over 700 for the glucometer to not read it. Upon seeing this, he asked me if that was high and then went, "Is this cause of all the ice cream I ate?" Played a Facebook Messenger video with his girlfriend the entire time. Met him later in the parking lot after he got discharged, and it took this man less than 50 paces from the ER door to rip off the bandage covering his fore and play with the fore wound until it started bleeding all over the place again. Knocked on our ambulance door and asked for a band-aid to fix it. We had to walk him back into the ER and bandaged his entire arm with gauze so that, hopefully, by the time he got it off it would have clotted enough for him to not end up exsanguinating himself. Experience 12. My sister told me a story of a woman with chronic blisters and lesions on her lips. They couldn't figure out what it was for weeks. It would heal and come back. Heal and come back. Turns out she would jam out on like 3 bags of salt and vinegar chips a day for weeks at a time until the sores hurt too bad to continue, then she'd go to the doctor. Experience 13. This was one of the funniest yet cutest ones, was a student doing a shift in andrology/reproductive health. Doc.
So, you're trying to have kids, but not managing to. So, do you have any other kids?
Patient.
Yes, Doc, I have one.
Doc.
Okay, so we need to do this and that.
Patient.
Okay, great.
Then he proceeds to visit him and stuff, after which he goes away. After a couple of seconds, he knocked on the door again saying, "Hello, Doc, my wife told me that it would be relevant to you that the son I have is adopted, but that makes no difference to me. I always considered my own son." Experience 14. My wife is an anesthesiologist. When training junior doctors, one of the things she has to reinforce over and over again is that you never leave drugs unattended in an unsecured area in a hospital, even for a moment, because some people see drugs and think, fun, and take them even if they don't know what they are and they just raided a trolley or picked up a syringe off a bedside table. And then, because the drugs used for anesthetics in hospitals are quite serious, those people quite likely end up dead or vegetables. And this has actually happened more than once in hospitals she has worked in. Experience 15. I don't know if a cleaner in a hospital counts, but this one time, I got to work early on a Saturday morning, and we immediately received a request for help from the ER and got sent over by my boss. When I got there, the first thing I heard was yelling from this guy behind one of the curtains. He was shouting at the nurses.
Don't touch my midsection.
And
I didn't use any drugs.
then I smelled iron in the air, and then I found out there was blood all over the hallway, handprints and blood against the wall. Almost the entire floor was covered in blood with actual puddles in some places. What happened? The guy pulled out his catheter, causing arterial bleeding, and decided to run away from the nurses who were trying to help him. It seems like he lived through that. I had never seen that much blood before that day or after. Experience 16. I used to be a medical oxygen tech, mostly doing homework. One guy was on such a high concentration that he would have drawn nearly zero oxygen from breathing regular atmosphere. This required 2 heavy-duty machines hooked up in tandem just to keep him barely alive. This was explained ad nauseum to him and his wife with full signed documentation of every conversation. They'd shut one machine off because they decided it was too loud. He'd take his mask off because he decided it was too cold. She would unplug the hose if she decided it was in the way. So on and so on, literally everything you could think of that would restrict or cut off his oxygen intake. Then they would panic and call our emergency service when he started to have a reaction to no oxygen intake. I lived not even 5 minutes away, right beside our EMS or fire station, and the call would always come to me to fix the machines at random times of the day and night, 3 to 7 days a week. They refused to call 911 because they didn't want to make a scene. This went on for ages, well over 18 months, until he was having trouble sleeping one night and shut the machines off before going back to bed. It's been years and I still see the wife around town. She always glares at me as if I'm the one who killed him.
We hope you enjoyed listening to today's stories. If you want to see more stories, check out these videos or check the links in the description for more videos. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And ring that notification bell.